My messy sheet on the NRL ratings. Yeah, it's got lots of colours on it, lots of numbers. But I'm just looking to get some ratings out and see how they perform. So let's have a look at how the ratings actually did last week. And if you'd gone with the raw ratings, it got 6 out of the 8 selections. I need to follow those selections a bit more because I did not get 6 out of 8 on my own tipping. I made some adjustments thinking that the Raiders were going to beat the Sea Eagles and that the Dolphins at home would be enough to get over the West Tigers, but sticking to the actual ratings seems to be the best way uh, in regards to tipping. Now, as far as the handicap, it won on 4 of them and lost on 4 of them. So 50-50, which is kind of what you expect around the handicaps. And these bets were just not good. So let's have a look at how the teams actually performed as well, given the ratings that they produced in those games and whether they would have won. So interestingly, the Panthers put in a much better rating than the Storm, but the Storm were able to get home in that game. The the Roosters also put in a much better game than the Warriors. I did watch that game, and the Roosters just couldn't finish off. They had so many line breaks, so many chances of scoring, they just could not score. And essentially, that's why the Warriors beat them. Otherwise, there was nothing wrong with those ratings. Definitely, the Roosters were the better team if they could finish off. But these ratings don't take into account the ability of a team to finish off, and therefore this will give them the opportunities, or this should produce the opportunities for them, but it's up to them to actually put the points on. So it was correct in Brisbane beating the Cowboys. Brisbane pulled in another rating above 100. The Sharks beat the Rabbitohs. Again, another 100-point rating there, which is good. The West Tigers beat the Dolphins, who could do nothing at home. The West Tigers looked really good in that game. The Titans beat the Knights again. Here was another game like the Roosters game where the Knights had their chances, they just couldn't finish things off. Well done to the Titans on getting the win there. And Titans were favourite, I believe, at game time, but the Knights did put in a better rating, so they'd finished off a few more of those chances. And early on in the game, it could have been a different game. Bulldogs easily accounted for the Eels. In the end, they ended up winning by 6, and the Sea Eagles definitely smashed the Raiders. The Raiders were completely gone after that sin binning, and then 4 tries being put on in that 10 minutes. Okay, so that's how the actual ratings went. The predicted ratings did quite good last week, so let's have a look at what the ratings are for this week. So this week is purely this year's ratings. We no longer have last year's ratings impacting the rating that's been given for the games this year. From here out, it will only be this year's ratings, as I've at least got 3 games now for most teams to give a fairly accurate, I'll say a good enough rating on how they should perform. So Rabbits Panthers. Panthers have got a 93. Rabbits have got a 53 rating. It's pretty obvious and easy to tip against the Rabbits here. The Rabbits are not looking good this year. They've got a few lucky wins. Panthers definitely have this. The handicap suggests to take the away team. They're predicted to score 16. Current handicap was 11.5 when I checked last night. The Roosters versus Titans. Roosters have a rating of 92. Titans have a rating of 75.5. So they've got a 16.5 point advantage. which turns into at least a 1 try advantage over the Titans. Given the line is at 4.5, we'll take the home side in the handicap. I think the Roosters do edge out the Titans here, with the Titans being away from home. The Dolphins versus the Broncos. The Broncos have a rating of 107. Not quite the top, but second highest rating this round. Dolphins have a rating of 60. That turns into a 19 points differential, which is more than the 14.5 start that the Dolphins are getting. So we'll take the Broncos in that one in the handicap. It's pretty easy to tip the Broncos. The Dragons and the Storm. This is actually to tip the Dragons. I know it's probably a bit of a surprise given the form of the Storm. So it's giving the Dragons a 2-point edge here, 2.5-point edge. They do have a 7.5-point edge in the handicap. So it's got the home side in the handicap. I'm not sure I could tip the Dragons to beat the Storm here, but if you are looking for a surprise upset, that could be the game. Next one is Cowboys versus Raiders. The Raiders have a rating of 91, Cowboys rating of 50. It turns into a 16 points difference. I know the Cowboys put in a much better showing this week, but the Raiders will likely bounce back from the loss to the Seagulls last week. So we are taking the away side. The current handicap is only 0.5 point. So that's quite easy to take the Raiders there. I'm forgiving that last game that they played pretty much. Easy to tip the Raiders. The Sharks and the Bulldogs, I think this is an easy tip with the injuries to the Bulldogs. The Sharks get the highest rating of the round with 110. The Bulldogs are at 86. That's almost a 10-point differential. The handicap, though, is 11.5. So in this instance, we would take the Bulldogs on the handicap. And I think the Sharks are too good there. Seagulls versus the Eels. I think this is a fairly interesting and easy tip, although with DCE moving on, announcing he's leaving Manly at the end of the season, it might throw a bit of a spanner in the works on how they play, depending on what's happening at the club this week. But they've got a 17-point differential here in points. The line is actually at 16.5 to the against the Seagulls. With the Eels, it's still, given we are just over, it's going to take the home side in the handicap. And again, it's easy to tip against the Eels here and take the Eagles. Last game, West Tigers versus Warriors. Warriors don't play well out of New Zealand. West Tigers have a rating of 83. Warriors have a rating of 65. It's not a very high rating at all. The difference is 7 points. Given the Tigers giving away a 2.5 head point start, that lets us tip the home team on the handicap. And they likely edge out the Warriors here. So this round looks fairly obvious based on the tips. The only game there that's even close is the Dragons Storm. If we look at the points differential, it's the only one under 6 points. And then the only ones under 10 points after that are the Roosters, Titans, Sharks, Bulldogs, and West Tigers, Warriors. So it will be interesting to see how the ratings go this week now that we are no longer using last year's ratings as an input to this year, but should be good. Let's see how it performs. Hopefully 8 from 8, but at a minimum 6 from 8 would be acceptable. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Good luck if you're having a tip. These should just inform the tips that you are doing or the bets you are placing. yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel, like the video. I also put out stuff for horse racing, which is by far the the area that I excel in the most, but definitely profitable in the NRL and AFL as well. Okay, gonna leave it there. Thanks for watching, and good luck if you're having a bet.